Welcome to Civitai.com, the home of the generative AI art community. If you enjoy this video, please consider hitting us with a like and subscribing, as it'll go a long way in helping us continue to bring you the highest quality AI community content. Please enjoy the video. Welcome to a very special Civitai guest creator session. My name is Tyler. This week we are joined by the lovely and talented Kezia AI. Kezia, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me on this.
Very excited to talk to you today, so thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, let me make you a little bit louder here. And yeah, so, okay, I've known Kezia for maybe like a month and a half or so now. We've had quite a few back and forths over on X since I've been more active there, and you run a very wonderful AI community on X called AI Art Today. Or what is your position in that whole thing? Are you just one of the few that?
Yes, it was started by Mars, and they had AI Art Today, and then we started AI Art Tonight, which is on the Monday and Friday night, and Bijou runs that with ABCDJ and myself as co-hosts.
Awesome. And so for the folks here that do not know you, why don't you go ahead and kind of give your spiel and give your background before we go ahead and dive into all the wonderful creative stuff that you have done.
Awesome. I'll give you a little succinct little summary. So I directed music videos and commercials and short films for like 15, 20 years. I started doing music videos in about 2003, commercials 2004. And then I traveled the world doing sort of international brand ads. And I lived in London for a while and shot all over the world, creating some quite amazing commercials and high-end work. In 2011, I got a virus and a head knock, and the combination of those has left me pretty much bedbound with illness, and so I couldn't be on set anymore. So after a few years of life grief and not being able to actually create, I discovered AI in 22, and it has saved my life. It's really genuinely been incredible, and also the X community of AI artists and that as well, that whole community. So they're both very special to me and have enabled me to create again.
So how long altogether, like what was the first AI thing that you found that you saw it and you were like, oh, I can do this?
Yes. So I was in an AI art 10K PFP collection. You know, there was those PFP collections of 10,000 with NFTs for ages, and then for a couple of years, and then somebody did an AI version of one of the big ones, and so we were all in there, and kind of we were all interested in AI, but it hadn't really kind of become big. This was mid 22, and then somebody in that community introduced me to Midjourney when V3 came out, and as soon as I saw that, and as soon as I made my first image, I just was absolutely in love. And I was like, I actually put my hand to my heart and just realized what it meant, like to me as a creative and also to other creatives. So I just was like, oh my goodness, this is just incredible. And from there on, I pretty much created every day. It was love at first sight, let's say.
Love at first sight. That is awesome. That is how I felt the first time that I saw a Warp Fusion video on Instagram.
Yes.
That was the thing that, like, I immediately was trying to figure out what the tool was that was being used, how they did it, how could I do it, what did I have to do to start making this stuff, and that was my entry.
About it.
Exactly, and it's incredibly kind of like liberating and addicting, because never before could we get some version of the idea in our head onto the screen in front of us so quickly. So
I've always wanted to do this, right? To tap my imagination. So with film, it's so laborious, and you have to pre-plan, and you have to get every detail, and you have to communicate everything, and then you have to shoot everything, and then you have to edit everything and finish everything. And it's so laborious that sometimes I was just like, oh, can't we just tap my brain, and so that then I can just just get it out. And AI is getting closer to that. Like it's like stepping into your imagination and creating direct. There's less of a barrier between what you conceive and how you can create. It's more seamless than a whole lot of other ways of creating.
Exactly. So, okay. Before we get any deeper into any of these conversations, for the folks that do not know who you are, or have not seen any of your work, or aren't familiar with any of it, I do want to show them the music video that you made for the Project Odyssey competition, because one, I think the art direction is absolutely stellar. Mm-hmm. And two, I watched a lot of videos in the past week and a half, like a lot. If I didn't look at another AI video for the rest of the weekend, I would be totally okay with it. But that's not going to happen. But I'm just saying, I have watched a lot. Yours had incredible consistency, and just like the thread that carried the whole thing through was it was incredible. So I'm going to go ahead and get my screen on here. And let's get this going. So yeah, I want to show you guys what Kezia made for the Project Odyssey competition first. Let me go ahead and turn this down real quick. The music in here was from Suno, right? So this is all good copyright wise.
Yeah, this is a Suno track that I created for this music video for Odyssey.
Amazing. Okay, and real quick before we do that, let me actually just check X real quick to see if it says that we are live somewhere. Yeah, boom, right there. Guys, for those of you asking, if you just go to our Civitai profile, you should see our live on X right now, just right on our timeline right there. So yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at this incredible piece that you made for Project Odyssey.
Okay.
We can talk through this.
I recommend people have a look at some point with the sound, because it does make quite a difference. But let's look at the visuals to start with.
Absolutely. So there we go. So obviously all of this was created with Midjourney, correct?
Yeah, the original, the images, the first images were created with Midjourney, and then I used Luma to bring them to life.
And for folks that maybe haven't played with Luma or any of that, how long roughly did this all take you to get the images, run them through Luma, and really get the amount of videos that you were happy with the motion out of it?
Yeah, it did take a while. I just see in the chat that somebody's asking for the link with sound. Are you able to give them a link?
Yeah, we will. Let me put that in the chat.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think that got sent to Twitch and to YouTube. I think those are the only two channels that I'm able to give. And let me give it to Discord.
It's on Twitter somewhere on my feed that you can find anyway, so it's easy to find. So yeah, there was a month that the Project Odyssey ran over, and so I kind of did it over that month, but it wasn't every day, all day. So I started with about 4 images that I really loved that I'd created, and I ran a few different tests through Luma, and some images work better with different tools than others, and this kind of quite cinematic and dark kind of look worked really well with Luma and the prompts that I was doing. And so this is one of the first images, that one that I just quickly came on. And so I then made a whole lot of images in Midjourney that kind of had the same style to them, using a style reference. And there are some that are actually slightly different as well that I've graded in to match. Done in the post, I've done the color to match them. That was one of the first images as well, that last one. And this last bit was lip synced as well. Sorry, I just got distracted by looking at the images.
Was this? You said this was one of the first ones right here.
Yeah, that was one of the first images I created, and that gave me the look of it. And then and there was a wide one as well, where the women look almost like they're in a cage and they're dancing, and that was one of the very first images as well. And then from there, I kind of that one there, yeah, that one. Somehow, if you can, it's being weird, but. Yeah, so and once I knew that those two animated really well, I kind of went, okay, well, I'm going to build this out. And so I built it out, and then I started playing with, I made the song, so I knew what the context and the music sounded like. And because a lot of the times when I make music videos, like in real life, I would listen to the song over and over and over again so that I'd get the visuals in my head that I wanted to create and get them out. So I'd be listening to the song and creating at the same time, so that then there was a match between the tones. And I did a very first edit of them, and then I was like, it needs, like, just to piece it out. And this is the beauty of AI rather than film, and this is one thing I wanted to talk about. And then I could then go back and go, I need a few more that are wider with a bit more of a context of flames. Okay, I'll make those and layer those in. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm just missing a couple of elements, so I'm just going to try a few more stills and videos and see what they are. And then I kind of added those into the edit. And then the edit became incredibly tight and really full. So what was different than making a music video in real life? There's lots of differences, but one of them was the fact of being able to, I'm sorry, I don't know why I've suddenly got beeps. They weren't before. The magic of technology. That with a music video, you plan it, you go and shoot it, and then you've got your footage. Whereas with AI, you've got your footage, but you can go and get some more footage. So it's almost like being able to do instant pickups, and so there's a freedom there of being able to see how it works with your visuals, see what you've got, see what the gaps are, and not overwork in one area and realize that you've got other areas that are gaps. So it's a very helpful kind of to and fro process, I found.
So did you at all, because I guess I mean, like, when you're making videos like this, the storyboard is the image generation, right? Because if you're storyboarding out an actual music video that you are going to go direct, nowadays, I know a lot of people are doing their storyboarding with Midjourney. Almost every commercial project I've been on, the creative brief I've been given has been Midjourney.
Yeah.
So the storyboard is kind of just like the actual image generation. And so was it one of those first initial images that you just like, you saw it and you just felt like, okay, there is a direction here. Like, this is where I'm starting from.
Say that question again. Sorry, I didn't get it.
Yeah, no. So, because in like the traditional process, you would storyboard out the music video first. Yeah. So how would you say the process of planning this differs versus that? Since obviously kind of like the storyboarding is built in to the image generation here.
Yes, it is. It is completely. And that was a major difference, because I know that some people I've talked to do make the Midjourney images and plot them out over the timeline and then go and animate them. But perhaps because I've done this for so long, I've got a sort of a built-in instinct with some of this stuff. So I did it organically. So I kind of knew what I wanted to begin with. I knew what the middle was. I sort of organically knew the structure. And so I kind of built it out from there. And I also wanted to see how the image is animated, because some come to life really beautifully and some don't. So rather than building the storyboard as a structure to start with, I used the videos to do that, because the movement is what is giving them the life and the timeline and the kind of with something that was more like a story, I might do a more storyboard to start with and be more strict with it. But what I love about AI is that freedom to not have to lock in to start with. My commercial work was incredibly pre-planned to every single detail, every single frame, and obviously very, you can tell about my art direction. My work is always very art direction, costume design related. I just really love bringing that element into that. My background is like I studied fine arts and interdisciplinary intermedia studies, so time-based media. So I kind of always like to bring a sort of, I guess, an artistic eye to the stories as well as a narrative.
So when you're sitting there and you're running these images, because like you said, part of it too is you want to see how some of them even animate once you run them through something like Luma or Runway. How much of this actually ended up just being like happy accidents for you, where you got something back from Luma and you're like, oh my God, that I wasn't expecting that, but that's so cool.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about that. Like some of the moves were really unexpected. Like that one that we just looked at was an unexpected move. It kind of tilted up and went like this. I mostly I did prompt for camera moves. And that was another benefit of having shot in real life is I know the names of the camera moves and the kind of camera moves that work together and that kind of develop a story and give emotion and how I wanted to balance that out. So like some of them have got, this is one, that one was a surprise. Okay, go back if you can. This one here, that one. So as it goes down, I don't know if you can go, it was the one that twirls right around, this one. Does it cut back to it? Weird.
Where is the...
It's gone past it.
Oh, maybe.
Oh, this one maybe. This one. That's it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So that was totally like, where have I gone? Because it was from a mid shot to a wide shot. And I had prompted some probably crazy camera movement to get that. But I didn't know what I was going to get from it. So there are some beautiful happy accidents like that, you're right. And then with a lot of them, I did prompt for the camera movement, like when the whole camera swirls around, which I think might be coming up at some point. I prompted for that camera movement.
I think part of the great thing about all of this is even though we might have a general idea or a direction or something like specific that we are trying to get out of it, what it gives us could actually take us in a very inspirational direction that we never even would have thought of on our own, because a lot of the stuff and a lot of the motion that these things give us, if we're shooting something with a camera, we're not imagining that, right?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is with shooting in real life, I worked with dance quite a lot. So I kind of, what's the right word? I have a vivid imagination where I see things in my head, because also the practice. It's all about practice, right? So when I first started making music videos, I had to kind of go, oh, what images do I imagine and how do I structure this? And I used to break it down. The difference, one thing I wanted to also mention is, so with a traditional music video, I used to listen to the song, then I used to break it down into little sections of not only the chorus and the verse, but also like the changes that happen and anything interesting that happens, and then totally plan exactly what's going to happen during those. And when I was making music videos, we were shooting on film, and so you can't let it just roll. So then you have to do like a camera map of where I used to do camera maps of where my gear would be and which shots I could get from which angles, and then you have to do the timetable and all the makeup changes and wardrobe changes, and you've got all these logistics around it, which you don't have with making AI, which is just an incredible freedom.
How do you see, so from coming from the actual industry, and before I ask you this question, let's just take a peek at one of your other works to see, like you've clearly been doing this for a minute. And do you think a lot of your work kind of, like, if you were left to your own devices, do you lean more into kind of light and whimsical, or more kind of like dark and
bleak? Usually I've got a kind of dual sides, which a lot of people have. So I started out doing kind of a quite bubblegum pop, and then I nearly died twice of appendicitis. And my work got quite dark. And this is one of the first, there was these two cement videos, two good shirt videos that I made were just after that. These videos are 20 years old. These are like made in 2004, this one, just to give you an idea of like where things were at and what we were doing there. We were kind of doing things just as HD came out, and we were testing a whole lot of digital grading. Because it was a music video, we were testing stuff that was just coming out. So it was actually at quite a high level for the time, if that makes sense. Anyway, what was the question? Where was I? I went on a tangent.
Well, no, but it's cool because looking at this, I can still like, it is still very cool because the AI stuff you've been making still feels like it has very strong threads from your professional work from the past before any of this stuff was even a thought.
Yes. So it's kind of interesting in that way, isn't it? It's like, I guess there's an aesthetic interest. I mean, obviously my work developed from 2004, and mostly I was doing commercials and short films after my music video time. I still love making music videos, but it's just, what happened in life. And I guess there's a
this is awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
I'm watching out of the side of my eye while I'm listening to you talk, and like just like
shoots, and I made them spin and spin and spin, and like there's a documentary made actually about this being made, which was quite interesting. But yeah, and like the effects that we were using, we had two post suites working at the same time to get all the visual effects done in time, and it was actually quite epic. Yeah.
That was a great shot right there.
Thanks.
That was a great shot. So
yeah, these music videos are what I made. I made 2 or 3 music videos, and then they got me noticed for commercials, and then I went into doing kind of commercials. So that's kind of what happened. Yeah. And
you've also won a slew of awards in your day, it looks like.
Yeah. Heaps.
So being that you have this much commercial experience and you very much are a professional at what you do and what you have done, coming from that side of everything and now being so kind of deeply consumed by everything that's going on with AI, just kind of simply because that's where life led you.
Yeah.
Where do you see the commercial industry going with this stuff? Like, wait, if you had to guess where it was heading, where do you see this all going?
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because I have talked to a few people about this, and a few, producers and executive producers and directors and things, and it's kind of interesting because I think at the moment it feels like there's a slight there's still a nervousness towards it and an unknown, but I think there's going to be quite a rapid turnaround, and people going, oh, is this what the tools can do? Oh, like a realization. And I think it will be additional to shooting in real life. Like, I think there might be combinations. Like, when special effects came out, people might have made all special effects commercials, but then you might make ones with real life as well as special effects. So there might be a combination between AI and shooting humans, because people still like humans. So I think there might be kind of there might be certain work that is done with AI. I think there's also a thought out there that AI is quick, and that's kind of a misnomer because
it couldn't be further from the truth. Oh my God.
I know. So it's sort of, to me, a similar amount of. It's not as much as making in real life music video in terms of physical time, but in terms of conceptual time, and it's not that different. Like, you still got to create it, or you still got to think of it, or you still got to kind of create all the style, the matching images. You've got to get the movement right. You still got to do the edit. You still got to do the grade. There's still like a whole lot of elements that are still part of it. It just really, to me, it's like accelerates the process, or like AI gives you a bit of a superpower. So I think we'll see it in commercials and films, I think, quicker than people think. Like, I think people think it's a couple of years, but I think maybe 6 months. I don't know.
I saw something just because of what you said there. I saw something very cool on LinkedIn just before we started this that I'm gonna see if I can get the link and pull it up on my screen real quick, because I think you would really appreciate this too. I saw this and I thought this was the coolest use case. So
amazing.
here, let me make my screen larger so everyone else can see. Okay, so this gentleman on LinkedIn right here, and just so we know who we're looking at, I'm gonna butcher his first name. Graham Shepherd, Graham. Let's call him Graham. Graham Shepherd. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry if you see this. So what he did was he took Runway Gen 3 generations, right? And he motion tracked them in Cinema 4D and put the 3D elements in the AI generated camera shots.
So I think 3D and AI is going to be the next really huge thing as well. And I think it also, what it does is it allows you impossible shots that didn't exist beforehand. And so I think that's also the use case that will be used in commercials and things, is like really expensive post shots, or really, shots that go through walls that it's impossible to build a set like that. I think that level is the really exciting, because we're actually creating a language that hasn't existed before, because these tools can do things that haven't been done before.
Same. I really think the strength of all this stuff really comes when it all gets, like, all the tools get mashed together and combined. And for the people that watch this stream on a regular basis, I know there's certain things I say that I sound like a broken record at this point, but I think it's important for people to hear that, because just the more that the traditional skill sets get wrapped in with everything that's going on in AI, and the more that all the different AI tools get combined, it's just like the creative possibilities are even more endless than they were before.
Exactly. So it's sort of like an extension, or like it sort of bounces you forward. It's like it gives you more of an ability to create. And I think also, like, when you're first starting out as a filmmaker, like when I started out, I mean, I was shooting on VHS and SVHS. It's like in the 90s, right? But you couldn't just shoot on film and try stuff out and experiment. With AI, you can have every idea you like and give it a go and experiment with it. And I love the Samuel Beckett quote, which is, fail again, fail better, fail fast. No, hang on, fail.
It's, what we always say is fail fast and fail often. That is something that PERS always says. That is something that I am a huge fan of. And that is why it is important to just try whatever crazy idea you have, because you don't know if that's going to lead you to your idea that is going to be the winner.
Exactly. And sometimes I go back to, like, ideas that I had a year and a half ago with Midjourney, and I go and look at an image, and then that is now part of a new project. So something that might, like, I've always been looking at dance, right, through the different generations, and what can you do with dance? And finally it's getting to a point that you can actually kind of create choreography, which is really exciting. But yes, fail again, fail better. Samuel Beckett. It's like my mantra. We had it on the poster when I was a kid on the wall. It's like, it's so good, because people think that you kind of come out made as a good creative or knowing the tools, but it takes hours, and it takes time, and it takes dedication and, perseverance, I think, to get your personal vision into visuals.
As a creative, and for someone who has been doing this for a while, what is some part of your creative process, maybe earlier on when you were beginning, that you struggled to overcome to kind of get to the next level of where you were finding success with everything? What was something, whether it was like a habit or just something that you struggled with when you were kind of getting all of this going for yourself?
So I'm going to go for two things, because I'm not quite sure how to answer it. One is that when I first began, I was actually really I go up and down with my health, and I was so sick that I couldn't sit up. And so I was only being able to text with one eye open on my phone, and that's when I discovered Midjourney. So I could only use tools that were available on my phone at the time. So that was one of my struggles that I had. Now I can sit up for short time periods, and so I can work on programs on my computer, which does make it, like for editing, I prefer to do it on my computer. So I wasn't, like with my Dance Interrupted series that you're playing there wasn't editing in those particularly. There was some sound post, but the actual prompts were made in camera. So the other thing I was going to say is I really did a deep dive onto Forum, and that was like 6-month learning. So I guess that was kind of like not a struggle, but it was something that I persevered with to learn quite early on, like maybe just as it came out, because I realized that I was going to also be, because of my energy and stuff, I needed to start early to kind of like to get the knowledge. And then I learned it well enough to break it. So with the images that you're seeing on screen at the moment, that's all created in camera, I call it, with an AI in the middle. And then so all the distortions are done with all the settings within Deforum. And
so this is all Deforum, all of these.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I couldn't even tell. I was actually I was looking at these and I was trying to figure out what tools were used for this.
Yeah. So Deforum was my favorite for a long time, and I managed to get this incredible interrupted aesthetic that was exactly what I wanted to do, because it's like, I miss dancing. I used to shoot dance. I used to dance. A lot of my friends are dancers. And so this was sort of like Dance Interrupted, where it gets interrupted, right? So it's sort of like this love that's not, it's interrupted. And the only post I've done on them is I looped them so that then, and made it go backwards so that then the whole thing is a loop. And I also did, I made AI music and spent quite a long time on the sound mix with CCO sound effects, which you can't actually hear right now. But if you look at the daily site, you'll be able to experience those soundtracks, because they're quite emotional journeys in themselves that take you through the images. Because one thing I really like also is the combination of sound and image and what they do to each other.
And I'm looking at these too. And so this was part of a collection on Fellowship, and it looks like you sold out everything, right?
Yes, because they're daily. They've all sold. The last one I think sold last week for a very nice price, and
awesome.
Which is very nice.
Oh yeah, half an ETH. That is very nice.
I think it's my top bid so far, like my top price. And thank you very much. There are 5 left. The first 5 on Maker's Place, and then the number 6 to 24 are on daily, because I put 5 out prior to being on daily.
So you're still using Deforum.
I still do use Deforum, and I do create with Deforum. I do have a little bit of frustration with being on a very fast Mac and it not really working with AI locally. So I hire like Run Diffusion and kind of work on that. But
gotcha.
I sort of do sessions at a time. But the last couple of months I've been going on. I had Luma credit, so I have been going hard on Luma because that was and also for making this music video. So I chop and change. I also can use. I've also learned a bit of Comfy. I've been around all of the tools. I did this hyper sort of look at every tool to try and figure out what they did and how my work and my vision could come alive in each tool. And then so for each project, each tool might create a different. I might use a different tool for something different. I really love knowing the tools and figuring out where their boundaries are and what I can do with them. So I spend a lot of time experimenting and pushing things to know where I can take them. I love Deforum is pretty magic.
Okay, so Deforum was something that because I was so obsessed with Warp Fusion, I completely missed the Deforum train. Because me and that Google collab notebook that Warp Fusion was based out of, we had a very we loved to hate each other and we hated to love each other. So I lived in that Google collab notebook. But there was something you said that I want to rewind back to, that like going into the forum, you kind of had to persevere to really learn that tool to get it to work for you. What advice would you give to anyone who are trying to learn any of these tools really, but are struggling? Maybe they have the creative ideas, but they're struggling with the technical side of actually learning the software.
Yeah. Persevere, keep trying, keep testing. I know that sounds kind of like not very precise advice, but interestingly with the forum, I started on the Google Colab, then that drove me totally crazy, and with all the errors and everything. And then I ended up going through Auto 1111 using the forum, and I found that a lot more of a process that I could do. But every time you're doing something, I guess the advice, what I didn't realize is everything is going to break and you're going to fix it, and then it's going to break and then you're going to fix it. It's part of the AI kind of programs, and you've just got to figure out they're being built as we are creating, and it's all developing as we're doing it. So it's like building a plane while we're flying. So you've kind of just got to build in the frustrations, I think. That's probably my advice, and persevere through the frustrations and just keep going. And if one tool's not working for you, work on another one while also learning that one. Like I've sort of learning Comfy, but I haven't dedicated it to it because I've found that it's really hard with my Mac to actually try lots of different models and lots of different things, that actually there's a limit to what I can do. So right now I'm like, okay, well, I'll use the things that really do work for my setup. It is disappointing. I have an M1 Max. It's like a super good computer, and I can't run things locally except for very slowly.
What a day it's going to be when all of the Stable Diffusion and Comfy stuff can work on a M1 chip, right? If let's speak that into the universe. Let's manifest that one.
Yes. I do love Comfy, but what I also, Comfy is very precise and controlled, right? And I really love that. Like you can kind of build your own workflows and just tweak this and tweak that. So I love that for some things that you want to really control. And then on other things where you want to give it a general idea and then get it to have freedom, it's really lovely to use other tools. Interestingly, for the Deforum ones, I think I only had 1 or 2 prompts, text prompts, and the rest of it is done with settings.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. And so for these, were you using a starting image or no?
No.
Okay.
No, it was all done. No, it wasn't a starting image. I had an input video that ran some of the movement, and I played with a lot of the different settings, and the combination of that created the interruption. For my first love, somebody says.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel that way. And I think the way that Warp grabbed me, the forum really grabbed a hold of a lot of people.
Yes, I just really want to dive into Warp, and I couldn't quite find how to do that. I might have to quiz you sometime, because Warp, I started seeing some people's and I was like, oh, what is this magic?
Oh God, I don't even, I think I would struggle to even open up the notebook anymore. Ever since Comfy and Animate Diff became a thing, I have been lost in the sauce completely.
Yeah, that's the thing, is you do get lost in the sauce, it's just so addictive as well. And in terms of people finding what they want to create, it's sort of I almost think it's a process of elimination. Sometimes I was thinking about it this morning, and I was like, I felt like that when I first started art school too. Like in my first year, I just got lots of little ideas out that I had. And then once you've got those ideas out, you're kind of going, oh, cool. Okay, that's consolidated, and I'm kind of more interested in this. And you get more and more refined of what are the things that are personal to you, that are your point of difference in combination, if that makes sense. So that you kind of really honing in on what you love and creating your own aesthetic.
How important do you think it is to... Because, okay, with all these tools, right, it is so easy to have your creative interests pulled in so many different directions that maybe you become good at everything, but not truly exceptional at any one thing. And I think, I mean, that almost feels like a plague of being a creative person in general, right?
I sometimes think I'm kind of like that in a way, like not good at one thing, but like I know lots of different programs at the level that I use them. Like I know some grading, I know some editing, I know some effects. I know a little bit of everything. And it is important to know a little bit of everything in some ways because it always informs you. Like before as a director, I worked in crewing on things like an art department and in editing and in lighting or whatever, just to learn more about the whole environment. And somebody's just making comments. I'm just getting distracted as I'm a very distractible person.
It's all good. They're talking about the forum.
So yeah, it's very easy to get distracted, as you can tell, right? And so you go down these rabbit holes. But I think there's a point that I go, okay, I've gone in so many different rabbit holes and I've got parts of 10 different projects. Okay, now is the time to just focus on one project and actually push that right through to the end. So I think there's time for experimentation and then there's time for really kind of just honing in and actually getting something out, because you're always going, there's something new, there's something better, there's the next thing, oh, this is now old. These animations I prompted in September, October last year, and I just finally got the last one out because they took me quite a while to finish the soundtracks and do all the work for them. So I think there's a... people so distract me. That's great. I love
it. All together across all the platforms, we have almost 800 people watching right now.
Oh, hello.
No, but so something that for me, I feel like has been a gift, but almost a hindrance is I'll get so obsessed with one thing and wanting to become so exceptional at the one thing that I can fall behind everywhere else. And then when and if I do want to pivot to something else, it feels like I'm playing catch up all over again.
However, if you pivot to something else, there's been 3 months that have happened since, and it's often advanced and you don't necessarily need to know the other thing. So that's also what I find is that sometimes if I do something and I'm like battling it, and I'm like, this is really hard. I'm like, okay, wait 3 months. Like I was battling lip sync, waited a little month, maybe even a month and a half, and now it's great.
I'm looking at everything that's happening with live portrait right now. And all it reminds me of every time I play with it or I see someone do it. And again, shout out to Purs because he's been putting out incredible live portrait content. But when I see people doing the live portrait stuff now, I think about how all the music videos and commercial clients that me and some other friends have worked with in the Warp days, and they wanted the lip movement and we couldn't do it for them. And we spent so many hours wrestling with it.
I know. And then you just think of those painful hours that you lost doing something that nobody's ever going to see. But that is part of AI. That's part of filmmaking. It's part of being creative is there's these hours that nobody sees. And then sometimes you find that you're super efficient and you create a whole lot of finished work really quickly. But that is the buildup of all of the knowledge that you've got. And so it's not necessarily how long that one piece took. It's all the buildup of all the knowledge that you've got.
And I feel like we have to make a very strong point to piggyback off of what you just said. If you are doing this professionally for any type of income, the speed at which you can create something really exceptional for a client should not impact the quote or the price you give them, because you also have to factor in all the time you spent learning these tools to be able to create something exceptional at a fast speed.
There's that famous thing with, I think it was Picasso drew a sketch. I think it was Picasso. I could be misquoting it. Hey, let's just go with it. And gave the sketch to somebody and he wanted a lot of money for it. And they were like, but it just took you, 5 minutes. And he's like, yeah, but it took me 30 years.
Exactly.
There's years of experience. Exactly.
How many overnight? I wish that more people that people classify as overnight successes would kind of give more of a glimpse into what the bottom of the iceberg actually look like.
Yeah, because I think overnight success comes once you've done all of that. Ding.
Yep, and that's all they see. It only took 30 years to become an overnight success.
Yeah, exactly. Not long. Not long.
So, okay, pivoting a little, while I have you, because I met you through my kind of diving into and looking for the AI community on X or Twitter. And I came across AI Art Today and AI Art Tonight. Can you talk a little bit about how long you've been doing that and how that community kind of came to be, and what you guys in general are doing on X, and kind of what the mission is there?
Yeah, totally. So I was just talking to you before about I've been on X or Twitter since 2009, but I never really got it and never really used it. And now I came back to, like, I guess, crypto NFT Twitter in about 21. And it took me quite a while to find the group of people that I moved groups a little bit and kind of was investigating, because at that time there wasn't the AI, and I was trying to find the kind of art crowd, and it took quite a while. And I think it's about what, I guess, AI Art Tonight, and I also host Art and Vault on a Wednesday night as well, which we interview artists and do a similar kind of thing, but it's just different. I seem to be into. And then the AI Art Tonight, what we're doing there, which I really love, is we're using the video feature on the X and showing people's work. So people can tag their work for that week, and we show their work and we discuss it. And what it is it's great. You get to see what people are creating. You get to talk to people about the tools. It's a very open forum. If you're not, if you're new, you can come and listen. If you want to talk about your work, you can come and join in. And so it's quite a unique place. So the night ones are usually the video ones, and the day ones are usually the chat ones. I think there's one morning that's a video one. So what I would say is, if you're interested in AI art, there's spaces every day pretty much. AI Art Today does one in the morning every day, and then at night it's one of our community ones every night. So AI Art Tonight is Monday and Fridays, Art and Vault is Wednesdays, and then there's a chill one that happens on the Tuesdays and the Thursdays. So there's, through that one community, you can find a whole lot of spaces to go to. And so it's really amazing, because instead of just, at first I was creating by myself. I took the forum to myself without hardly, there weren't many tutorials, and I didn't really know anybody. So it was a lot harder than now. I've got this whole amazing community of people where if they've got a thing, I can help them. Or if I'm kind of coming against a boundary or barrier that I can't figure out, I can go to one of their tutorials or talk to them. So it's really different than, I think, the traditional, say, art world or film world, and the fact that everybody is sharing. And because it's also new, there's no way that all of us can keep up independently with everything. And so sharing the knowledge and sharing what you're learning, and then you can go, that sounds really interesting to me, I'll go down that avenue. But somebody's actually already researched a whole lot of it. So sharing the information accelerates all of you, which I find magic in this kind of X community of AI artists, is the sharing kind of and learning together. I find that really pretty exciting.
I kind of refer to the thought of all that as we all have to blind spot each other in this, because the sheer amount of constant innovation and the rate at which things are getting exponentially better, and new projects are coming out and new GitHubs get launched. And it's just like, between audio, image, and video, it is absolutely overwhelming to try to do all on your own.
It is. And add into that the fact that I know I seem like I've got a lot of energy, but I come up to for a little bit, and then I basically spend most of my time not having much energy. And so I've got to really be quite precise about where I put it. So I spend a lot of time thinking and planning, and then I am precise with my doing. Whereas before, I probably spent a whole lot more time doing and spending a whole lot of energy to get the same result, if that makes sense. So, yeah.
Exactly. And shout out to Zip45, who is actually Justin Mayer, our CEO over at Civitai, who just said that the sharing is his favorite part of the AI art ecosystem. And lo and behold, that is the only reason Civitai, as we know it right now, exists.
Yeah. And Civitai is amazing. So heads up to Civitai.
So, okay, for artists that would like to maybe, I've met a lot of people who are insanely talented doing this stuff who don't necessarily have the know-how, wherewithal, or even kind of like just the desire to really put themselves out there socially. But they do want to get into doing this professionally.
Yeah.
What advice would you give anyone who maybe is just, they have all the talent in the world and they're making great stuff, but they're just now kind of getting their bearings about them on social, especially let's stick to X, for example, since that's kind of your platform of choice, right?
Yeah.
What advice would you give them on how to kind of plot out trying to grow and get their stuff out there?
Yeah, it's interesting, hey, because I mean, I started from scratch in, I guess, with this world in 2000 and I guess end of 21. I started coming into this world, and I probably had less than 1,000 followers. I hadn't really been on, I just hadn't really been on Twitter, and it took quite a while to connect with people. But it's seeing people's work and interacting with them. It's going to spaces and listening to people and going, oh, that person sounds really interesting. I'd really like to connect with them. It's slowly, bit by bit, kind of connecting with people and sharing your work. If you don't feel comfortable speaking on spaces, that's absolutely fine. I've got a friend that's part of fellowship, and she doesn't do much on socials. She doesn't speak on spaces much, and she makes her artwork and puts it out, and it does really well. So there are different avenues about going with it. For me, I really wanted to, I come from a completely different world, and I kind of needed to find a community. Also, because I'm quite isolated, the community was actually a really breath of fresh air for me, and it was kind of like has created this kind of amazing new sort of online life that I didn't have before. So I think sharing your work, responding to other people's work, messaging people when you like their work, going to spaces, listening to them. There's a whole lot of really interesting fellowship spaces as well. Obviously, there's Civitai, the AI Art Tonight, Art and Vault. Go to all those spaces, listen to the people, see who's interesting, follow them, set your alerts for what they do, so that then if they have a space or something, that you can kind of go along to that. And bit by bit, you'll get to know people that you connect with, and that you kind of have a really cool conversation with, and then your community builds. And that's kind of how, I know it doesn't sound straightforward. It's kind of like just a gradual process. No secret sauce to building. And I mean, I'm still kind of, I'm still building my presence as well. And I think it's just being you as well. Like when I first started, I was so nervous to speak on spaces and even tweet stuff out, because it was really foreign to me to be kind of that open about things. And gradually, like I used to be very verbose when I was working and talking, but I kind of lost the ability after years of not making work and
it's
not
a muscle. It's a muscle you got to keep using.
I then had to learn, and I went on some spaces and I was like, oh, I can't even speak, like it was just like, so try it out. Just, and don't, most people are really super friendly and are totally happy with people being human. And nobody's perfect. And so I think just put yourself out there and test, I guess, what gets responses. Like maybe put like your thoughts out there, put your work out there. It doesn't have to be finished work. You could put out what you're thinking or a little tip that you've learned. There's all sorts of things that you can dialogue with people about. And I used to find it kind of annoying. I've got a post and it's lots of energy. And then now I actually really enjoy it because I'm interacting with people that I really love, and their work is really cool.
I think maybe that's the cheat code. Maybe that's the cheat code. Maybe that's the secret sauce right there, is have kids and hire them to do it for you.
Yes. Truth be told, I did have a friend for a few months when I was really sick help me do my social media at one point just to keep it going because I couldn't post. But it was obviously with my voice and with my health. But she did help me for a few months, not anymore, but just while I wasn't very well. So yeah, if you do have somebody that can help you, but there's nothing more than you personally connecting with people to evolve you in the space. The other thing that I did was enter lots of open calls with my work, like via Join or via the alerts on people's Twitters that different things came up. And through that, I then got exhibitions and then people sort of saw my work. So there's lots of different avenues you can go depending on what kind of work you're doing.
Awesome. I think the only secret sauce I've found, because now in the past year and a half, 2 years, I've been able to not only kind of build my presence on one platform, but also Civitai's. And the only secret sauce, because when I came on at Civitai, the Civitai Instagram had 11 followers. And there was no social. There was like no social outside of the site, and the site was booming. So even more of a hats off to Justin and Max for what they did in like this day and age with no social. It's incredible.
Wow.
But the only secret sauce that I can tell people for growing on Insta, or not just Insta, but anything, because I'm seeing the same thing on LinkedIn and on X now, is you have to be consistent. If you are not consistent and you're not just putting stuff out there on like a regular basis and just willing your presence into the ether of the algorithm, it's going to be incredibly difficult and rare that it actually picks you up on that rare day when you do decide to put yourself out there. And I think a lot of people get really hung up on the idea that before they put something out, it has to be perfect. And I think that's a really big hindrance for a lot of people. And people enjoy seeing stuff that isn't necessarily perfect. I think we're all a little tired of seeing things that are overly perfect. I enjoy work that is a little rougher around the edges.
Yeah, I like the rawness to work as well. And that's what I also love about AI, is that it can give this perfection, but it can give this rawness, and the between of that is kind of totally incredible. The one thing I was going to say about the consistency, I find that really frustrating, that consistency is key, because it's not very accessible for people like me who don't have constant energy. So I have struggled with that consistency thing. But what I found is that over time, it's become easier, and I realized that you don't have to do, finished whole thoughts. It can just be little comments or little things. And I'm not consistent every single day, but I do put stuff out regularly. But it's not that I'm there all day, every day. Well, I probably am, actually. I do have my phone. Yeah. Anyway, I'm there more than I should be. And there is that consistency. It does frustrate me, because I do think it is not that fair, but when was life fair? But yeah, you if you just put your one finished thing out, you're not going to get any traction. You definitely have to sort of be chatting to people, or to be putting out some examples or something, so that then you're in that dialogue, and then your work will be sort of, who's figured out the X algorithm? It always changes, doesn't it, as well? So it's kind of...
My personal stuff went from getting over 1,000 views on every single thing I was posting for the past couple of weeks to now, like, I'm lucky if I get 200, and I didn't change anything. So yeah, who knows? But also too, not letting those things like affect you, which can be hard, right? When you're so invested into this, that can be incredibly difficult to kind of like deal with whatever the companies decide they want to focus on at the time.
Well, the thing is focus on your work and making it really cool. And and that's what I'd say to that, because all the platforms can be really frustrating. So that's what I do, is I focus on my work, and I kind of go, these things are frustrating, and sometimes it's hit and sometimes it's miss, and it's not the be all and end all how many people see it. It's like, if the right 3 people see it, then you've hit the 3 people that have really enjoy it or respond to you. So it isn't necessarily quantity either. It can be quality of the people that you're interacting with, and that, you know, you can, somebody's like, they had 2 million views. I'm like, wow. And you thought you were doing bad.
Almost gave up. We'll throw that on the screen, Jay.
Yeah, do, just for context.
One of the coolest commercial gigs I've been fortunate enough to land came from one person seeing something I did. And that thing I did was not something that they even saw on a platform that got a lot of views. It was something that I had put in a Discord community. And that one thing I shared in that Discord community landed me Coachella.
Wow.
So
I mean, that's not a bad gig to land, right?
No, but it's only because I'm even so on the times when the algorithm feels low for me, I've been starting to think about it as, okay, this is my time to experiment with stuff that I wouldn't normally do. Yeah. And then when something hits and the algorithm loves me again, I'll double down on that thing that hit.
Exactly. And it's also like interact with the people that you are finding fascinating, the work that they're doing. And then the algorithm seems to give you more of the same, like you kind of get more into the world of what you like is also what I'd say. Like just keep liking what you're liking. Discord's also quite interesting, but you can get just lost in Discord. I used to sort of live more in Discord for about a year prior to kind of coming more just the beginning of the AI. And then I came over to Twitter because Twitter's got a bigger audience and you can reach more people, whereas Discord, it's the people that are in there. But that also can be very special because they are niche into whatever they're into. And so Discords have their place, I think, as well.
Discord. Oh, no, all good. Discord for me is the tool to connect with the community of people that I'm close with and that I work alongside with. Everything else is to have the communication with the larger community and to reach new people.
Indeed.
That's kind of how I look at it all.
It's kind of interesting because, you know, before artists made work, but they didn't have to be social, you know, managers or like...
You didn't have to be your own marketer.
You didn't have to be your own marketer. And it is a real shift in kind of like, how do you talk about your work in the right tone without like, you know, like with commercials, I'd have people, the executive producers and producers would sell my work in and do the marketing. I didn't have to do the marketing. And so it's kind of like a thing to kind of get your head around and get comfortable with. But I think the thing is to speak with your own voice. And I think then it feels like more natural. For me to do it, I feel better doing it with a natural voice, if that makes sense.
No, I totally agree. Because at the end of the day, look, we're all using these tools. And if I say it all the time, if we think that in another year or 2 years, people won't be able to make these incredibly cool things, we need GPUs on their phone or on a much smaller machine, and it'll be even more accessible to even more people, we're fooling ourselves. So like in the world where anyone can create anything at any time, what's important? It's what you actually have to say with your work and not the tool that you use to say it with.
Exactly. That's actually similar to something I always say. I'm just sort of, it's really interesting that, isn't it? If anybody can create anything, what are you going to create? What's important to you? And I think there'll be a whole lot of sort of like stock kind of video or stock imagery that gets made. That's kind of at a sort of certain thing, but then to make something that is artistic or makes a kind of comment or commentary about something or is political or, you know, I guess is saying something meaningful. Like my work often focuses on invisible illnesses or the idea of like the meme, I'm fine, like everything's on fire, but I'm fine, you know, like, because that's kind of my world. Like I am pretend pretending everything's fine, but it's not. And a lot of people's worlds are like that, but mine's just quite intense like that. And so it's finding the things that you're really passionate about and putting those forward. And I think that's what will. And in the end, creating to me is about creating. And I love the act of creating, and learning is a painkiller to me. So it's not all about, it is great if it gets a good response, and it's great if you get into exhibitions and all those things. But essentially, creating is its own thing.
The thing I will say about all this AI stuff too is, aside from being incredibly liberating in the act of just creating and getting to be creative in just a massively freeing way, for me personally, it also taught me how to learn again. If that makes any sense. Like there was a couple years there before AI, when I was doing like freelance videography and editing and VFX and stuff, where I felt kind of like stagnant, and you're doing so much work, you're so busy all the time that you don't have the time to sit down and learn anything. You're out of school, you haven't done any schooling in a while.
Yeah.
And it's learning too is a muscle that you need to flex regularly, or it's easy for stuff to go in one side and right out the other.
Yeah. And I find a lot of people in this area of AI are very curious people, which I really like. And they are kind of like, what's next? I talk to some people that are artist friends of mine or whatever that aren't in AI, and I show them it, and they don't seem to get the same that we all get, like the same kind of like, what's next and what can I create, and this absolute curiousness. And they are curious people, but then it's not their bag, so I think learning is really important. And I think in life, it's almost like we think you get taught at school and you learn and then you've learned. But it's continual. And that's actually what I really loved about filmmaking, is the continual learning. There's not, the more you learn, the more you realize that you don't know. And so you keep learning, and AI is very similar. And it's just, that is a huge part of it, that I actually really love learning and being kind of, I guess at this point of things haven't been done before. So what can we do? It's very exciting.
And pro tip, surround yourself with people that are much smarter than you. But in doing so, try to find a way to also give back and add value to people that help you along the way, rather than just trying to build for yourself.
I think that's part of it as well. I think some people come in and go build for themselves, but it's a reciprocal. Relationships are what kind of build, and you'll have hit and misses. Like I've had whole friendship groups that have just left ex, like it's kind of like things that happen, right? But that's what I love about the AI community, is it's so varied and there's so many different pockets that it feels quite stable in a way, because there's this thing that holds us all together, which is this curiosity about creating. And just back to music videos briefly, if you don't mind, if I could say something about music videos. Is that all right?
Yeah, please.
I was thinking about it last night before we talked, and I was thinking like some things, like I made one music video and we were doing choreography, and I wanted to shoot it so they looked like dolls. And so we slowed the music down and the choreography. We sped the music, hang on, which way around did we do it? We ended up making them do the choreography half speed, which was incredibly hard because they had to flop like dolls, but in half speed, like controlled falls, but half speed. And then we'd do it at 12.5 frames, which is half, so it would speed it up twice. So it would be in sync with the music, but be kind of jerky.
Yeah.
And that's kind of complicated way of saying it. And with the film technology, those are things that you can experiment with. And with AI, there's whole new things that you can experiment with. And so finding playing with all the tools and the settings are really important. And so that's what, with the deforum work that I was doing, that's kind of what I went into each of the different categories and was like, what happens if I change the strength in a kind of keyframe way on this particular setting or that particular setting. And I think experimenting, because that was me back in the day, trying to use the tools of film to maximize the interest in a music video for the story. It suited the story. And so trying to do the same things with AI, matching the technical thing with the concept, if that makes sense. And that's when they kind of become magic projects, is when the technology and the idea and the visuals all come together.
Yep. Nope, couldn't agree more. We actually had someone ask over on YouTube, is learning and creating AI art expensive if it is just a hobby?
It can be. AI can be free. AI can be very expensive. It depends what tools. I like it. She looks like a woman from... She's living in Hollywood. I'm in New Zealand. Hello. I think that's the best thing that's ever been said.
I think it's the beret.
Oh, yes. Maybe the earrings. Anyway, what were we saying before I got distracted with comments?
AI being expensive if you're only doing it as a hobby.
It can get expensive, especially if you forget to unsubscribe to tools that you're no longer using. I've done that quite a few times. I think it's really about choosing your tools. So you can go the free way. There's more of a time investment. Now I'm getting zoned out by their comment.
I gotta make sure you see the flowers as they get given.
Oh, very nice, very nice. Especially when I'm feeling brain fogged today, so that's really lovely to hear. See, now I can't remember the question. That's my brain. Pookie Num Nums over in our Twitch chat actually said that Bing, Glyph, and Civit are all like as close to free as you could possibly get, and you can make really great things on all of them. You can even make animations on Glyph, and I know that we're building some stuff out on the back end to do animations and video stuff on Civit, hopefully sometime soon. And somebody's made the point that time can be expensive too, and it can. So that's the balance you've got to do. You've got to go, how much time do you have to do things the slightly harder, slower way, or how much do you want to pay to get things to be easier? And that's a balance that you kind of have to get to with your work and what you're doing. So maybe you start out with the free and cheap tools and see how much you like it and see where it's leading you, or maybe you invest in one particular tool that you love, and just sort of play around. But there are tools at every level of the expense. I try and limit the amount that I'm subscribed to at the same time. Now I'm lucky enough to be on a few like creative programs, so I get some credits, which is really fantastic, which really helps. And it also means that you can try more things and combine more things. But yeah, I think, I mean, you can download, Stable Diffusion or Comfy and use them locally on your PC for free, if you've got a fast enough computer, if you've spent a lot on your computer.
If you got a fast enough computer.
Yes.
So, and so for me, I've been a Mac fanboy for as long as I could remember, and I have a Mac Studio, but I needed to do this stuff so bad, and I kind of was feeling like it was time that a PC had to come into my life, because there were things I wanted to do that I just realized like I couldn't do on a Mac, and I didn't want to always have to pay for it. And so I was fortunate enough that I picked up a secondhand PC with a 3090 in it for a really nice price from a friend who was upgrading to a 4090 at the time. So he gave it to me for a very nice price. But
that's what you need, a friend that is
exactly. But the very first big commercial AI gig I got, the 100% of that payment went towards a brand new second PC. I didn't even let it touch my bank account. It just directly went towards it, because you have to look at how serious you want to take it, and then kind of choose how much you're willing to invest into that for yourself and how much you're able to.
Exactly. And things are going to keep moving faster and faster. And like in a few years, you're going to need a faster computer than a 4090 perhaps to do things. And, everything keeps going. So like at first I was like, I'm going to just, you can also hire GPUs. So that's what I do. I go to Run Diffusion and I hire a GPU, and it's got a whole lot of the stuff set up to use. There's also Run Comfy and to use Deforum. And they've got most of the basics set up. You have to import anything that is a special model or a special, you have to upload some things, but that's a way to go if you want to try some of the tools and you don't want to necessarily invest in buying a PC. There's a point, though, that if you use that every day, that the price difference would be better to buy a PC. So it depends on the use of it. But to test things out, I'd recommend just hiring the GPU and trying it out, see how you go. So you're testing things out before you commit to buying them as well is probably a good idea.
Agreed. Kezia, we have come up, we're a little over our hour.
Yes.
I don't want to keep you too long. We have had so many nice comments from all the platforms that have been watching that have all kind of echoed how inspiring this talk with you has been. And also, you have a very wonderful voice to listen to talk about this stuff for an extended period of time. So thank you for that. And yeah, no, thank you so much for coming on and joining us. I'm really happy that we were able to make this happen. Why don't you go ahead and remind everyone where they can find you? And even if you want to drop, or actually, I'll drop some of your links in the chat. Unfortunately, the chat is only going to send it to Twitch and YouTube.
I'm pretty easy to find.
Yeah, and you can also, if you head over to the Civitai X page and you just scroll down a few posts, you'll see things that we've tagged Kezia in, and you can find her through our Twitter as well. But while I'm doing that and getting those links, why don't you go ahead and just let people know everything you're up to, where they can come find you, remind them when the AI Art Today X Spaces happen and where they can find you there.
Okay, great. Hi, thanks all for listening. I do like it that Americans seem to like my voice. It's great. New Zealanders are like, whatever. So yeah, I mostly post on Twitter. So that's a really good place to find me and my central place. I've got a link tree that has got a whole lot of my links on it that makes it very easy to find things. I have 3 websites. One is my film website, which is keziabarnett.tv. I've got my photography website, which is thekezialibrary.com, because I also happen to take a daily photograph of myself every day since 1997 for Selfies for Even a Thing. And then I have my AI one, which isn't really updated, but it's keziai.keziabarnett.tv. Anyway, they're all on my link tree. That's the easiest place to find me. And X is where I put most things. I am on Instagram and other platforms, but X is because I'm limited in energy, I kind of choose that one. What else? AI Art Tonight is on Mondays and Fridays, EST, 8 p.m. And for those of you on my side of the world, that's on a Tuesday and a Saturday. I also run I host Art and Vault, which is on a Wednesday at 8 p.m. EST time. So there's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 p.m.
Kezia, you are an absolute legend. I would love to circle back with you in maybe a couple weeks or a month or so, and we just make this kind of a regular thing to catch up with one another. And then we'll also find more ways to do stuff between Civitai and the AI Art Today and AI Art Tonight group.
It's so fantastic to be, sharing and collaborating and all talking about this, because we only get stronger by all, talking together. I'm so grateful for the spaces that you run in your energy and Civitai, and thank you so much for inviting me along. And thank you all the lovely listeners who have come to listen to this chat, and hope to talk to you again soon.
Awesome. One more thing I wanna bug you for, and I meant to ask this earlier, but while I still have you, I know that there are a lot of really talented women in the AI art space. What can we do to encourage more to get involved in the front-facing community side?
Yeah, interesting. By front-facing community side, you mean like talking on spaces and things like that?
Yeah, things like this.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've sort of been thinking about that as well because, when you invite guests and different people, there seems to be less women than men that come up to chat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. I think to support artists, the thing I always say is buy their artwork. And that will obviously help them in lots of ways and give them more visibility and maybe more confidence to talk about their work. I think including and encouraging everybody to come up is always really good because there's different aesthetics that happen not only between genders, but like just different aesthetics and that different people kind of vibe with. But AI Art Tonight's pretty good because there's two of us out of three on the hosting, and Art and Vault is Farah and I as well. So we always try and encourage people. If you want to come up and chat on any of these platforms, please let us know, because on Art and Vault, on AI Art Tonight, all you need to do is tag your piece with a hashtag of the week, like AI Art 014, AI Art 015, or whatever the name. I'm losing my words. Whatever the number is of the week. And then we will show your work to everybody and talk about it. You don't have to come up and talk about it, but you can. But we'll show it so that everybody can start to become familiar with your work. I think little by little do it. Like, I didn't have confidence speaking in these spaces when I first did, and now I find it totally part of my everyday, apart from these annoying beeps that are happening today. And you get more and more used to doing it. So I think, what's right? I guess just, it's really hard to do, isn't it? It's like encouraging people, but also putting yourself out there, but also doing what you feel is right for you. It's like this really weird combination. But do it small. If you're not confident, just do little bits. Go up and say 2 sentences. Go, join a space and make one comment or ask one question and start to get more used to the idea of a live conversation in front of other people, because I think a lot of people seize up when they think other people are listening, and just make it about the conversation with that one person. Like right now, I feel like I'm just talking to Jebbugs and, but there's all these other people here. So I think that's also part of it, and just everybody has something really interesting to say and we want to hear it.
And I think that's the important thing to keep in mind, is that everybody has something interesting to say. So, Kezia, thank you so much. This was not only, I'm sure, great for everyone to listen to, this was also selfishly very inspiring and wonderful for me to be able to sit here and talk with you about all this and pick your brain. That's the funnest part for me about doing all this, is I get to dive into what I'm most curious about, and then everyone else just gets to benefit from it.
Excellent. Oh, the other thing I meant to say is also on Daily XYZ, I'll have some new works coming too. So keep an eye out there for some new works that will come at some point.
Awesome. Well, look, Kezia, thank you so much. So much. I will see you over on X in the spaces, and on Discord, and in all the virtual places that we now cross paths.
Yes.
We will be circling back with you again for sure, and figuring out ways for the communities to do more together.
Fantastic. That sounds really great. Thank you so much. You've been wonderful, and I've loved talking to you, and loved meeting you, obviously, and I can't wait to connect more.
Awesome. Well, Kezia, we are going to let you go. I will talk to you on Discord, and then I'm just going to close it out here.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much to Kezia. Guys, thank you so much for joining us for this AI guest creator stream. This was absolutely phenomenal. And okay, you know what? You're right. I'll go. We'll bring Kezia back. No, but guys, have a wonderful weekend. We'll be back on Monday with Ali for office hours over on Twitch. next week, Thursday, the plan is to do an AI and animation stream, but we might try to do another one of those AI artist hours. And I'm going to see if I can wrangle up the group because everyone seemed to really enjoy that yesterday. So I'm going to see if we can make that happen again. And next week, Friday, we are actually going to be joined by one of our Civitai developers, Sean, who is going to be talking to us about some behind the scenes Civitai stuff, as well as stuff that he is really into and doing on his personal time. And yeah, I it's part of my initiative too. I want you guys to start to get a little bit more familiar with the rest of the team at Civitai, because the team is pretty small and everyone works really hard to do what we do. And I want these guys to kind of get their notice as well, whether they like it or not. But guys, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Whatever platform you folks were watching on this, there's been damn near almost 1,000 people in this stream. And that is a great one right there. I'm gonna hit E up and I'm gonna try to get E to come on with me on Thursday and wrangle a little group together. I definitely want E on with me. Great suggestion. I'm gonna go send him a Discord message right now. Guys, I really appreciate you all. I know the rest of the team does as well. Everyone is hard at work. We know the site's been having some issues lately, but everyone is trying to fix it and get it going. So guys, boom. This will be live on our Twitch channel as soon as this is over, if you would like to go and rewatch it. If not, this video will be posted to our YouTube channel on Monday. And please go follow Kezia. She is incredible and she's incredibly talented, and we need more people like her in the space. My name is Tyler. This is Civitai.com. This has been a Civitai guest creator session. We are out. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Go make something cool.